Welcome to The Explainer. We're here to take complex stories from the source material and, well, piece them all together so you get the full picture. And today, we're diving into a really fascinating web of global influence, some pretty unlikely meetings, and what looks like a major shift in the world's balance of power.
All right, let's jump right in. Our source material points to two events that honestly couldn't seem more disconnected. Over here, you've got China holding joint military drills with Iran. And then, way over on the other side of the world, you have what seems like a totally separate issue. Officials from the Trump administration meeting up with a separatist group from Alberta, Canada. I mean, what on earth could possibly link these two things?
They're worlds apart, right? Well, according to our source material, these are not just random, isolated events. Nope, they're actually two pieces of a much, much larger global puzzle, and it's all about a struggle for power and influence. So to see how they fit, we've got to understand the playbooks that these major players are using.
Okay, so let's start with China's playbook. The source lays out a strategy for expanding global influence that isn't just one move. It's a whole, carefully planned, multi-stage operation.
Step 1, as the source describes it, is all about getting a foot in the door. It starts out looking pretty standard, foreign investment, diplomatic meetings. This is how they build relationships and really establish a presence inside another country.
But this is where it gets a lot darker. The source alleges that the strategy then ramps up from just investment to actual serious threats. And we're talking about cyber attacks targeting a country's most critical infrastructure. The source even uses this really chilling phrase, structure collapse banking system. Think about that for a second. That's a huge jump from being a financial partner to basically holding a country's entire economy hostage.
And the final stage, according to the source, is turning all that economic and digital power into real, hard national security leverage. For example, they mention controlling the supply of something as critical as ammonium nitrate. And just like that, a foreign power can get a direct say in another nation's ability to even protect itself.
Okay, so keep that playbook in your head. Now let's pivot way over to the other side of our puzzle, that meeting up in Canada. This involves a movement with a pretty big goal and, as it turns out, some very surprising international friends.
So the group right at the center of all this is the Alberta Prosperity Project. Now, in case you're not familiar, a separatist movement like this one is basically looking for more political freedom, maybe even full-on independence from their central government. And their stated goal, as the source points out, is incredibly ambitious. They want to make Alberta the undeniable powerhouse of Canada.
And here it is, the connection that ties it all together. This group had meetings with top officials in the Trump administration. I mean, we're talking about a direct line from a Canadian separatist movement straight to the U.S. Treasury Secretary.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Why? Why would a U.S. administration take a meeting with a group that wants to completely redraw the political map of its closest neighbor and one of its strongest allies? Well, the source suggests the answer has less to do with Canada itself and a lot more to do with a much bigger global game. So how do we connect China's strategy over here with this meeting happening in North America? The source argues that this meeting wasn't just some random one-off event. It was actually part of a much broader pattern of, well, shaking up the old world order.
The source material suggests this meeting with the Alberta group fits right into a pattern of challenging these long-established international relationships. It points to a foreign policy that was openly questioning alliances with Canada, the UK, and Europe, and was even kicking around unconventional ideas like buying Greenland.
This slide really just lays out the tangled new web of global politics that the source is describing. It's a world where old adversaries like China and Iran are teaming up, while old allies like the US and Canada are being pulled apart by these internal movements who are looking for new friends. It seems like everyone is just looking for an advantage in a world where the old rules just don't seem to apply anymore.
So, what's the endgame here? According to the source material, what does all of this add up to? What is the ultimate goal of all these complicated moves?
When you strip everything else away, the source argues it all boils down to two things: the power gain, the power struggle. This isn't just about regional politics anymore. It's about a fundamental reshaping of the entire global pecking order.
So the big picture here is really one of global realignment. According to the source, we're watching a moment in time where the old, stable alliances are being questioned, they're being tested, and in their place, new, sometimes really surprising partnerships are forming as every single player jockeys for a better position in a new world order. And this all matters because these shifts can completely redefine everything from our trade relationships to international security.
And that leaves us with one last big thought. If the old rules and the old alliances are really up for grabs, what kind of new connections and power blocks are going to emerge to shape the next few decades? It's a huge question that these events are forcing all of us to think about.